What if you could control and sweep your opponents from one of the most overlooked guards in Jiu Jitsu? Welcome to day one of our Butterfly Half Guard seminar, where Coach Jot and I break down high percentage sweeps and take a deep dive into one of the most powerful finishes, the arm triangle. It's time to improve your game, and if you're getting value, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a technique.
Butterfly half guard. One of the advantages of butterfly half guard compared to regular half guard is my ability to push him with my butterfly hook. I started training it because I got against guys who were bigger than me. I was tending to get flattened out, and then because I didn't have a hook here, I wasn't able to regain. There's some techniques you can employ to get your frames back, but when you have butterfly half guard, you already cut those frames. So if he decides, you know what, I'm going to go chest to chest here, and I have the butterfly hook, you're so much more powerful. Here, if he's really good, okay, he keeps this tight, and he's super heavy on me, it's going to be really tough for me to do something such as a knee elbow escape. Okay? A lot of guys, there's only a few escapes from here, and if a guy's really good on top, that he can kind of counter my escape, and then I end up being pinned here for the whole match, and it's a real bummer, especially when the guy's bigger than you, right? Once I have this hook here, now I have the ability to use my leg, which is next to my core, the strongest part of my body, to start to frame off. Previously, I could only maybe frame with my arms, which are really weak compared to his core. So now he comes here. If I want to start to escape here, I can use the leg pressing power of this and my frames, and then start to come in, and now I've got that distance, and I can start to employ my offensive game again. That's definitely an advantage. A few more advantages is my ability in this position to elevate him. Okay, so I can break him off. I can also use this to elevate him. Okay, once I elevate him, I can use it to start to attack his legs. So there's a few fundamentals with butterfly half guard in the gi that we have to address like right away. One of the things that I must do at all times is have my knee flared outwards. When my knee starts to come in, this is where it becomes more of a smash pass for him. And now it's a bummer for me. So I want this bare minimum here on his shoulder, preferably right on the outside of his ribs. When I use something like pulling this collar in, there's no way that smash is going to happen. Okay? Now, this collar, I can use that as a secondary frame, which is going to prevent the smash from happening. Because he knows if he smashes me, he's going to pass me. So I use this, and I can use it as a frame. Now, if he goes to try to smash, we can be here all day. I'm not going to expend a lot of energy because I'm using the frame of my skeletal structure, so I can stay here for quite a while. The other thing that I want to do is have my half guard hook retracted. This foot, if I can, I'm going to press down on his leg, which prevents him from standing up. If you can, grab this grip in the gi right away. And again, with my skeletal structure, I don't have to use my muscles. And so if he's starting to try to come in on me, it's super easy. So I can kind of play lazy here for a bit. I'm using this grip here to bother him. To start, I'm going to eventually look to get the underhook. But to start, I want to use this grip, and I want to kind of threaten to push him over. So now Joe has a dilemma here. Does he let me push him over, or does he start bringing his mass back into me? And when that happens, that's when we're going to get sweeps.
Nice. We see the position from last time.
Yes. So from here, I have a retracted hook. This hook comes in. This one's here, just like a butterfly hook. And watch, like here, it's good, but if I pull him in, notice how my knee is on the outside here? Now he's kind of locked in, but also my knee is now locked into that position, which is one half of the mount. So if we were to go inverted here, I go into mount quite quickly. So this one retracts, this one pushes down. Some people will hook the foot. Look how I hook my foot. I personally don't like that because he goes to sprawl to get up, and it's
scary on your knees.
It's scary on your knee. So instead of that, my recommendation is to retract this and keep it here. It's your game, so do as you wish, but it's just word to the wise, okay? And then make sure you've got your frames, okay? You're off on your elbow. Another thing we should mention too is head position. This is a big fundamental in this position. So from here, if I have good head position, it's likely that I'm going to be able to stay on my elbow here and be in a good attacking position. Once he funnels his head through, he can start pushing with his head, and then I'm in double shoulders position, which in half guard and also butterfly half guard is not where you want to be. You want to be on your shoulder, right? And then the pass is much less likely, because for him to pass, he has to actually flatten me out.
Yeah, it's back to the foot thing. The foot that you're using pinned down.
Yeah.
When you have game. Are you pushing? Like, are you like
Yeah,
pushing
I
it
try
right
to
down?
push down like I'm stepping on.
So it's not like
Yeah. Now, eventually, when we go for sweeps, we're gonna actually take this hook out, and that's when I'm able to sweep. We'll get into that. So one of the disadvantages of butterfly half compared to half guard is my inability to keep him. Okay? So even if I have this grip here, I don't really have a ton of control of him just standing up. So what I noticed, and what our Joe noticed when you guys were rolling, is what would happen is he would just go to stand up here, kind of in all fours. When this happens, there's a huge gap there. So he goes to get up. I'm gonna start to scoot in and try to get into a double butterfly position. Okay. The other option, as we discussed earlier, is to start to look for a leg. So for every one of you, you can get into like an ankle lock type position. Okay. So now, I'm in a butterfly half position here. Okay. Another thing I noticed is, for those of you that are smaller compared to your opponents, getting up to an elbow doesn't really create the same posture. Like, for me and Joe, we're the same size. So when I'm up onto an elbow, my head's the same height as his head, and I can start to get good head position. But for like Sarah, her elbow is kind of like me not on an elbow, so her head's kind of down here. Okay. So if you're looking to off balance them by driving your head this way, and you're smaller, you might want to consider getting up to a hand. Okay, it's going to help that for those of you where there's anatomical differences. So now we're going to get into underarm sweep. So I'm going to start. I have this lapel grip. If I'm able to get this right away, I'm going to grab it. But let's say he's kind of hiding it on me. So now from here, I grab this grip and I start to get up onto my elbow. And now I'm using this to push him away. As I do, he's not so focused on what's going on with the gap in between here. And when I push him and he's got his hand here, it kind of opens this up a bit. So now I'm going to lead with my elbow, always lead with my elbow. So I grab this grip here, and if I want to get a bit of slack to allow my elbow to come through, I'll just kind of bring it down on his lapel here. Now I'm going to use that slack to start to bring the elbow on. From here in the gi, we'll go 180. We're going to grab far side belt right here. So notice how I bring my elbow through, and I kind of shut them here, and then I come through for this. So now, I'm going to leave my hand here. He decides to whizzer. And what does a whizzer employ? Well, if he doesn't have a whizzer, so he takes the whizzer out, I'm just going to shuck out and come straight to that. So for those of you that are newer, a whizzer or an overhook is just their ability to prevent the back kick from happening. So now I have my hand here, and he's not quite wise to the situation, so he decides, well, I don't have a lot of control here, so I'm just going to grab his hand. And I say, great. So I pummel through, and I grab his wrist. In the gi, you can go cat's paw. Okay. So now I have that grip, and this belt, I'm going to use to lock it in. And remember the disadvantage we said about him being able to stand up? Once I have the underhook, I have upper body control and lower body control, so he can't stand up. So now, if he's unweighted on this hand, I'm just gonna fire it towards his stomach. So I'm gonna grab, and now I collapse, and as I collapse, he collapses too. This foot comes out, and I draw power from the mat by pushing my toes in the mat. Okay, I bring my hips up and into him, so I'm not leg pressing. This hook is just staying. It's gonna be sticky at best. So I come through, and over top, and right away I'm going for my single chest wrap position. Retracting, bring my hook in, grabbing my lapel. Pushing, starting to off balance. Bring this through, and I shut. This windshield wipers through. Okay, the difference between a regular underhook is if I have a gap here and I'm gonna start punching this, he's got so much distance to close that gap. Whereas if I bring this elbow in and I shut, it just comes in naturally. Can't really close it off. Okay? Now he decides to grab me, I pummel through and grab him. I fire his stomach, his wrist into his stomach, and as that happens, I drop and he drops at the same time because he's kind of using me as his structure. So I push it in, I drop, he drops, push this over top, and I get into what's called a single chest wrap position. So now from here, we count the 3 out and we score 6 points. 2 for the sweep, 4 for round. So I'm here, I have the underhook, right? I grab the wrist, I fire it in. Now watch, I draw power from the mats, this knee starts to come up. I'm not doing this. When you do this, you're just gonna flick it right off you and then you're not centered underneath it. So I come up, turn, and then I'm into my position. So probably my favorite submission is an arm from that. This comes from the single chest wrap. Okay. I get into this position first. This is what I call a position of safety. Compared to not having his head and arm, once he has the ability to push me with his hips, then he's gonna get into like a kipping escape, so go ahead. He starts pushing my hips, and then he's out real quick. So when we're doing jiu-jitsu, if we can control the lower body and the upper body, it's gonna be much more difficult for our opponent. When I'm in single chest wrap, he decides to try to get out, go ahead. It's gonna be super tough. He's only got one frame on my hip. I've got his head pinned, and I have his hips pinned. Okay. I highly recommend, once you guys get into mount, rather than stay here, just get into a single chest wrap. From here, you can use this to smother him, but of course, we want to strangle. To get into the strangle, I'm gonna grab the back of his head, and I'm gonna restrict this space. So when I'm strangling him, the arm is on this carotid artery. The second carotid artery is being like his shoulder pushing into there. Okay? So now, when I just loosely grab it here, there's going to be a bit of space there. And when I really want to strangle someone, I get into these micro adjustments. I do what's called the karate chop. So I pull up here, and I just punch this through. Now watch, my hand locks his shoulder in. From here, now I've got this side closed off, I have to close this side off. So I'm gonna grab his elbow here and start to push it into the pocket. Now I need to lock it in, but I wanna keep adjusting. So I'm gonna lower this and lock it in with my head. Lower it and lock it in with my head. Okay? Now this hand faces the mat, this hand, so I tuck my thumbs in and I grab here. Make sure that the one that's around his head is face down. So I grab here and I keep adjusting. So I keep digging my neck into this. Okay, so now I go head to head, pushing into him, and then I'm gonna kick this leg this way, and I want it so that we're like a pancake and a spatula here, okay? So we're gonna be on the same lines of force. Biggest mistake I see you guys do is like they try to do this. It's not gonna work. So watch, I get the same lines of force here. So I kick this leg out, and I bring my hip to the mat. Now I dig one more time. From here, I pinch my right elbow towards my foot. So I'm doing this. It's very important we know this submission, because if we're gonna sweep them and come out, then we're gonna go for the kill right away. Get in the single chest wrap, I pull up, and I punch through. If it's not quite tight, I can kind of do this with my hands, make it a little tighter. Grab my hand, push, replace, push, place, push, replace. I've got it locked in, able grip. I do one last push, and I cut the corner like I'm a Miata turning around a super tight corner. Boom. Lock the head in, bring my mask down by kicking my leg through, and then pinch this elbow down. Okay, one more time. Yeah. Okay. Single chest wrap. Punch. Lock it in. Push. And I'm pushing like 45 this way. Right into the pocket of the shoulder. Push. Lock in. Push. Lock in. Grab my gable. One more lock. Turn that corner. Drop my hips. And pull. What do I not want to do? Come right off. Because what does Joe do? And then now I'm going to get taken back. Okay. So let's practice that.
Sometimes with this choke, you don't have to put everything into it right away. It can be a slow move. You can hear the breathing starting to start to gurgle and stuff, so you don't have to send it right away and that's what I
And micro adjustments. And a lot of the adjustments, as you've seen, that I did there was from mount. So I do my adjustments from mount. If I come off mount and I'm losing it, I'll get back up and I'll start to readjust again. And keep trying. You might miss it the first time, but if you got 3 minutes on the clock, you got time. Just keep going. Okay, so let's do the underhook sweep.
That head control you're doing there, is that an always thing?
That's an option. That's a good pickup. So sometimes his head isn't quite like, I might just spike him into the mat. Right? So what I'll do is I'll let go of this for a bit. And then I just turn it.
And you're just trying to get your head above his, I assume?
Yeah. So this is the concept of sweeping, okay? When I'm sweeping someone, I turn their upper body first, and then their lower body in a lot of sweeps. So watch. So I have to turn both his upper body and his lower body. Now I can do this sweep without. But what I noticed by doing a lot of no-gi is you can kind of help that sweep go by pushing the head.
Then you're not losing the underhook, you can just
Yeah,
get
you
it
still have the
off,
underhook,
and
yeah.
then-
So I grab, and then to be nice to Joe, I'm just gonna push that through. Both guys doing that to be safe with Joe. Stop. Post to his head. Yeah, well guys don't post on their
Yeah.
head too, so. Yeah. All right, let's try. We'll go all the way to the submission. Ready? 1, 2, and down. He flattens me out in head and arm, but in this case, he's got good head position, and I lose it. So I'm almost into like a head and arm strangle here. So if you let this happen for long enough, he's gonna really tighten it up, and then you're gonna be in a horrible position. So you gotta act quickly. If you notice his head is on this side, you need to drive your head this way so that you can get your elbow in. So I drive my head this way, and I start to bring my elbow through. Now, I'm gonna grab cable grip, and I'm gonna pull his shoulder down. This is called a shoulder crunch. Okay. So now, this forearm on his neck is super tight and it's really good for pushing his upper body over. But I'm gonna do the same thing as I did before. I'm gonna extend my butterfly hook and then I'm gonna retract. So I retract this foot so it's no longer here, it's over here. Now I'm gonna use this elbow to start to turn his upper body. At the same time, I'm drawing power from the mats and I'm bringing my hips into it. Okay, so I come over top, boom. He comes over, and then I'm in the same position as I was before. If you want here, we can get into the head and arm straddle. So I'm gonna go over, and then anytime I mount someone, I always bring their arm above their head first. So I'm gonna punch this through, and now I'm gonna start. Okay, again, if I'm in side control, and I just go, okay, I'm gonna mount, and then I end up in that position. Okay. So watch. I'm gonna pummel and bring this arm above the head. You can put your knee on his hip here, okay? So now, his arm has to deal with my leg press power and my core power. So I'm using stronger parts of my body on the weaker part of his. So even if he's super jacked, he's not going to be able to keep me from bringing his arm above his head. So I bring the arm above the head, and then I come up. I can windshield wiper this through and hook, and then I'm doing the same thing as I did before. I start with this elbow, push, push, push. Okay. Table grip. Okay. One of the mistakes I was seeing people do is they would start squeezing now, and then they would start kicking through, and they're kind of pulling his head up here. Yeah, so he can either reverse me, or at the least, I don't have the right lines of force. So when we're doing this strangle, it's like a trash compactor. Trash compactors don't work like this. They work like this. So imagine you both are on the same lines of force, and then you're bringing it in. So, knee on the hip, pushing him up. Okay, if I have to, I'll do my karate chop. Nice and tight. Push, push, push. Okay? Now, if I made those adjustments correctly, I should not even have to gable grip here. So I come through, I leave it temporarily loose so I'm not pulling him up, and then I'm driving. Okay? Of course, in a match, I'm always going to gable grip because I'm not going to let anything slide, right? So I come here, through, okay? I loosen it up just so I can get to those equal lines of force. I gable grip. Nice try. Okay, right away. See how I bring my head to the side? If I don't, I'm never going to get it through. So I kind of have to punch myself, bring it this way. Shoulder crunch, push, and retract. So I push this out, retract. Turn the upper body, come through. Knee goes on the hip. That gives me an ability to drive. I come through, I grab my cross face, drive, get onto the elbow, push, push, lock them in, grab my gable, draw. Okay, so one thing, excuse me. Okay, so this shoulder in the pocket, okay, is probably the most important part of doing this strangle, okay? So if it's here, there's most likely the strangle's not gonna happen, okay? So if I've got him in single chest wrap, he's kind of pinned here. So when I let this out, he's still, because my neck kind of has him locked in, it's going to be difficult for him to get out. So when I mean I want you to push the elbow, I want you to push it at a 45 this way. Okay, that's going to lock it into the pocket. So now when I bring my neck down, I'm driving my neck into the shoulder, which is gonna drive into the front arm. Okay. So I'm locked in. If you're in a match, you can kind of hold him here and look at the clock and you're like, I've got 4 minutes, right? As long as they're not calling penalties on you, then you can kind of hang out here and just let him kind of buck around, because like he's got to escape. The more depleted his energy tank is the better. So like some people, they get into any position, like an end game position like this, and they're like, I gotta go, I gotta get the submission, and then they get reversed, and then now they're in mount. So like just kind of stay here and do your micro adjustments. If you got 4 minutes, work on it. Don't rush. I have him locked in with my shoulder. I take this hand and I push it this way. Now, watch what I do with my hips too. If my hips are way up here and I'm pushing it, it's not gonna do anything. So I take my hips and I bring my hips towards my butt, which allows my shoulders to get into the position to place his arm. Now I keep the adjustments. And then I go. So that is one thing that I forgot, is bring your whole mass back this way.
Thanks for checking out day 1 of our Butterfly Half Guard seminar. Drop a comment if you've got questions or want to see specific techniques next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Coach Jot and I have plenty more coming your way. See you next time.